I work with care for the family. I've worked with care for the family 16 years this year, and I head up the community engagement team. Our charity, the Vital Charity, we are a charity that looks to strengthen family life across the United Kingdom. I live in Manchester. I have 4 children, but they're all grown up now. They're all left home, so I've got an empty nest in the room. So I just live there with my husband, Paul. So let me introduce you now to my colleague, Joy.
Yeah, so good morning. I'm a primary teacher, so I can project my voice across a really big room, and a microphone is just an added bonus. So I'm Joy. I'm kind of your local person because I'm based in Chesterfield. So if you ever get in touch with Care for the Family, I'm actually the kind of contact person that you could use. I'm the grand title of area coordinator, but within Chesterfield I'm a mum, a primary teacher, I lead my church toddler group, and I deliver parenting courses for Care for the Family. But anything that comes under the S postcode is kind of directed towards me. So during this workshop you'll get the information from either Trisha or Care for the Family, but if you need to sort of get that back to me, then just go through the Care for the Family office. So it's great to be here. I'm really looking forward to doing this workshop with you.
Okay, so next slide please. So this is a little bit about our organisation. So I found out this Rob Parsons. Everyone heard of Rob Parsons? Yay, fantastic. And he established Care for the Family 35 years ago. So he's getting old. Don't say myself that. Rob used to work as a lawyer, a family lawyer in London. And he was saying that all too often he saw the fallout from family breakdown. So he had the vision to start the charity, which would help families to put down strong roots and help them during the good times and also the difficult times that all families go through. So Care for the Family's vision is to support families both in the good times and the challenging times. And the work feels more important than ever post-pandemic, with the huge rise in mental health issues and now the additional pressure on families with the cost of living. Our head office is in Newport, South Wales, with regional offices in Birmingham, Edinburgh and Belfast. Our mission, I say, is to strengthen family life, and our work is motivated by Christian compassion. But our resources are actually available to people of all faiths or none. So it's important that you know that. As we know, families come in all shapes and sizes, just as I'm sure there's lots of families here that are represented that are all different shapes and sizes. And we want to be accessible to all families, whatever their shape. Our vision is that every family will have somewhere to go for support in both the good times and the more difficult, challenging times. Next slide, please. So you'll see there that our work, we have like 3 main pillars to our organisation: couple support, parent support and bereavement support. And across each of these areas, Care for the Family provides a range of activities and resources, single parent holidays that are subsidised, etc, etc. And you can find more about that from our table, which is just over there. Okay, so can you just do that clip for me? A little clip about Care for the Family's work, and then we'll get on with Lisa's.
Some time ago, my wife Diane and I went to a reclamation yard. You know, the kind of place there, old fire grates there and slates and tiles off roofs and concrete statues from gardens. And Diane was pretty interested, but to be honest, I was getting bored. Until suddenly we turn a corner and there are hundreds of front doors from houses there. Big doors and small doors and red doors and blue doors and a door from what looked like a castle. And then suddenly I saw a door with a key in it. And I couldn't help but think, what stories could those doors tell? what family life had gone on behind those doors. And over the years of Care for the Family, we've gone behind those doors and often found families in times of incredible joy, but as well, times of incredible difficulty. We tried to stand by them with whatever they were going through behind their front door. And of course, those tough times are devastating. They're devastating for adults, but even more so for the children. And of course, those tough times hit every home. And that's why in 1988 we began Care for the Family. Sure, we wanted to help families in crisis, but as well, we wanted to build strength into families in the good times so they could face those storms if and when they came. And so down all those years, we've touched the lives of hundreds of thousands of families, bringing support, encouragement, and perhaps above all, hope. When Care for the Family began, I could have never imagined the hundreds of thousands of families we'd have the privilege of supporting. And sometimes I let my mind roll down the years and think of all the projects we've been involved in. And when I do that, time and time again, I realize we couldn't have done any of it without the faithful support, month by month, of our partners. And all over our nation today, behind front doors, those family lives are going on, and some of them are tough. And together we can touch those lives, we can go behind those front doors and bring that hope. We can do so much more together than apart.
Okay, thank you. So, next slide please. So Bob says that we can do so much more together than apart. And we can't do it all as a staff team at Care for the Family, or even our amazing volunteers stood to my left here. But we do see the church, you, as partners in delivering our resources, and we're passionate about equipping those who are out there on the front line supporting family life. The next slide, please. So just on here, the slide, there's a few lists of things that we do, but please do visit us on the store. But without further ado now, let's get down to what this workshop is all about, and that's our resource, A Mind of Their Own, which is building children's emotional well-being.
Yeah, so when Trisha and I were thinking about what is good for you, we were looking at all our resources, and we decided to base this workshop on this resource, which is a pick up, deliver 2-hour resource. And then as part of this workshop, we're actually going to give you a booklet which is part of the session notes, but we're just going to do a snapshot part of that workshop, because we thought then it gives you an insight to what it is, we get to sort of work together on it, and then we can kind of share it with you. But we thought about sort of post-COVID. So this was written based on a book that was written by Catherine Hill, who works with part of our Care for the Family. And it was really in the light of, as we look at children and how the post-COVID has kind of hit our children as they are today. So the book itself is available, but then this resource is based on that. So obviously we know our children are growing up in a world where they are anxious, there's uncertainty, and really COVID has just kind of accelerated, or at least given us to what we are today in 2023. And as I said to Trisha, I deliver parenting courses, so I feel like I'm there in the coal mine, chipping away, and really dealing with these everyday problems that are right here, right now. So hopefully this workshop resources you in whatever field and resource you are in, and then it kind of works with us as you get a snapshot of what it is. So as Trisha's come round, you can see first of all you have the session notes, and really we're talking about what is this, what does this resource offer? The main thing we're looking at is kind of like, it's based on 5 different things. So within the resources, there are 5 topics that are covered. We have emotional health and well-being, we have resilience, brain development, we have body confidence, and we have role models. So just for this, we just thought, let's focus in on resilience, a high topic word at the moment, and one that we're talking about a lot. And very often we sort of start off by thinking, what is resilience? And this kind of gives you the videos which we're about to watch, so you can see that it's kind of a watch the clip, have a discussion, so that's what we're going to make it. So,
Rob, it's great that you can join us. So let's start with a question. What is resilience?
Well, when I was working as a young doctor, we were given this list of 10 things to get us through the first year. And some of them are really obvious things like know where your next meal's coming from, make sure you booked some leave off and you actually remember to recharge. And right down the bottom of the list, it just said, number 10, a sense of humour when all of the above are absent. Because sometimes those things are not there in our life. And it's how you cope when the chips are down. How do you cope when the normal coping mechanisms are not there? Another definition you see in the dictionary is toughness. So it's that ability to respond in a helpful way and not crack under pressure.
Very good. And in terms of resilience, so why is it important?
Well, it's really important because it helps us respond in a more healthy way. If we don't have resilience, what tends to happen is that, first of all, we use up our coping mechanisms. We phone our friends too much. We rely on our health and our physical health suffers. And then we become more stressed, more anxious, more frustrated, and perhaps we even have an episode of mental illness like anxiety or depression. So it's a protective against all those things happening, and it enables us, first of all, to have better mental health in the day-to-day, but it also protects us from these big episodes in the future. We know that the children who are growing up resilient are less likely, once you control for everything else, are less likely to have adult mental health problems in the future.
And in relation to children, so how do they go about gaining resilience? Is it something you can learn? Or?
It is something. I think the most important thing to say is it takes time. You know, this is something that we are looking to grow in children over a number of years. The example I sometimes use is if you'd hurt your back and you went to see a physiotherapist, they would give you exercises to do over a 1 month, 2 month, 3 month period to strengthen your back. What you don't do is a couple of knee bends before you pick up the heavy box. So developing resilience is not how to deal with today's crisis, but it's more about how we build for the future. How do we get to that point? And you're right, it's not a theory as much as an experience. It's something which is caught rather than taught. And so much of this, we actually have seen this over the last couple of years with the pandemic. Our children have been amazingly resilient. They have learnt how to use Microsoft Teams. They've worked out how to communicate with their friends when they're in lockdown. And I think sometimes we need to praise that and recognise it as resilience.
And I've heard you mention bouncing back. What does it look like? You know, when our children are faced with something that's challenging, whatever that is, what does that look like in practice?
I think it's the ability to respond in a helpful way. So by defining what a helpful way is, let's think of 2 ways that are unhelpful. And I'll use some slightly technical words, internalising and externalizing. So internalizing is where you take the stressor, whatever it is, and you turn it in. You blame yourself, you look for solutions within yourself, and it's all your fault and all yours to solve. And often you do not have the power to change whatever the situation is. It's been done to you, and you can become quiet, and that is the pathway that leads to depression. Or you can externalise it. You can point the finger, you can blame the government, you can blame the political system, you can blame whatever else, the news, so much bad news, isn't there? And, we can blame these things. And of course, that's not really the problem. It's the general problem, and the general things never fix themselves. People fix things. So we blame systems, and we point, and we become anxious and get stressed and frustrated and tense, and neither of those things are helpful because they don't actually help us grow resilience, and they don't actually solve the problem either. What resilience is going around a cycle. And the first part of that cycle is initially just standing back, not internalizing or externalizing, just standing back, and then acknowledge the emotion, become upset, allow yourself to say, this is really tough. This is awful. I need to speak to someone, have good people you can talk to. The third thing is seeing where you can make a difference. Having stood back, there's probably a few small areas, 5% here, 10% there, or actually you can make a difference. And that might just be enough to lift you up where you're not in crisis anymore. And in doing so, you say, that was resilience. You name it and you say, that was a good response. And that cycle, you go round, and that is where you have become resilient in that situation. You might need to go around that cycle several times, and you grow it. You layer it down like you're doing a painting. You put layers and layers of paint down.
That's really helpful. So the kind of process is you don't internalise, you don't externalise, you stand back, you allow yourself or your child to be sad, and then try and find some ways of solving the issue. So $1 million question then is, as parents, what can we do to help our children grow this really important quality of resilience?
Well, I think one of the key things we can do is we can model it ourselves. And that might be a skill we have to learn. You know, I mean, sometimes parents learn things. You know, they learn how to referee football because their son is playing football now and the team needs a referee. So we can learn skills as adults. And I think learning resilience as an adult and modeling it in our family is probably one of the most powerful things we can do. And it can be hard, particularly if we've grown up internalizing or externalizing. And one of the things that we can do, so I'll tell you an example from my family. We were thinking about how can we be a bit less shouty as a family. We were getting a bit stressed with lockdown and all the rest of it, and we just noticed people were shouting, pointing the finger, it's his fault, he stole the remote control, whatever, you know, people were shouting. So we tried for Lent to give up shouting. And we thought, right, let's make this a bit fun, we'll get some stars out and we'll have a little bit of a reward at the end for the person who's done best or lost the least stars, however it works. And what we found was that as parents modelled shouting less, the children shouted less as well, and we spoke about that, and it's a lot easier than giving up chocolate, I can assure you. So we gave up shouting for Lent, and we had a quieter and also a more emotionally mature household at the end, and that was just a layer of resilience. Now, I have to say, a few months later, as we record this, we probably need to do that exercise again, but that's okay. It's all right to go round the block a number of times on that, and so modelling, I think, is the key thing.
That's a really helpful, practical example, actually, of how we could, one way we might be able to do that in the home. So thank you so very much. That's really great.
Thank you.
So for anyone that's used Care for Family Resources before, you'll see that it's a kind of talk through. So if you turn to page 8 in your reading book, you can see that the actual title of this little session is Resilience. So just to recap, resilience is about how you respond to something, it's acknowledging it. And in Care for Family style, we always have the top tips. So at the bottom, you've got resilience as a cycle. So as we just sort of heard in that video, we've got this kind of being able to respond in a helpful and healthy way, and then resilience is caught rather than taught. And then that practicing resilience. So we're not internalising, we're not externalising, but we're actually putting it on that cycle. And it's kind of relearning and relearning again. It's not just, oh, I've taught it, or I've done it, I've caught it, I don't have to revisit it. So this sort of thing is kind of where you're saying to children, how else can we do better? The emotion's fine, how are we going to deal with it? So we're going to kind of go into a little more of a discussion. So in your tables, we thought we'd have a look at some of the main questions. So if I assign each table to one question, and then if you've done that question as a group, we'll leave number 5 as a kind of free for anybody. So the first question, do you want to have a go at that one? When you find it easier to use positive affirming language, and when is it hard? And can I just say you share to the point that you're happy to share it? If it's a topic that's close to your heart, then please let the rest of your table do the work and just absorb and take on board what they're saying. Do not feel that you have to share if it's beyond what you want to feel comfortable with. Do you want to take question 2? This table here. So that's, how did your parents encourage and affirm achievement when you were growing up? This table here, do you want to take 3? So you're thinking about how is your child navigating the pressure from society to be the best? So if you're a parent, that'd be great. Maybe if you're a leader, think about how that fits in with your role. Or if you're supporting parents, what sort of answers do you think they might give as well? That table there, do you fancy taking number 4? Are you happy with that? No? Don't want number 4? Should I pass it on? So you can think about how you can balance the need to encourage your children to put their whole effort into what they do. Guys, in fact, do you want to take number 1? So get a repeat. Guys? choice. Yeah? Guys, do you want to take 2 so we get another repeat, or do you want to take 5 or 2? Lovely. Is everyone happy? So if I give you like 5 minutes to just kind of discuss it on your table, and then we'll take some feedback and see what we think. Great, thank you. Okay, can I draw us back together? I hope that was useful. I hope sometimes in these days it's nice to just have a pause, hear other people's ideas. So if I just go round each table, feel free to share 1 or 2 thoughts that you've had on your question. So this table here, so just remind us, what was your question?
It was the second one.
Okay.
Which was about our own experiences a long time ago with children.
No, I have technology, apparently. If I turn this on, you can do microphones. So, question 2, what was your thoughts? And how did your parents encourage and affirm?
Well, it was quite interesting because of the 5 of us, between us, we covered the whole spectrum from a very sort of authoritarian background, you will do this, to the opposite extreme of not getting any support or guidance at all. And it was quite interesting that we were all different. But I suppose it reflects the sort of groups that we're involved with in our work with young people.
Brilliant, thank you. That's really good. It's lovely when you have like different experiences, but also multi-generational and different things. Great, thank you. Should we go there? So, what was your question, guys? Who's going to be great? Thank you.
I'm cheating because I didn't actually say it. So question 1, when do you find it easier to use positive affirming language and when is it hard? So with children, when they're behaving nicely, it's really easy to be positive and affirming and praise their good behaviour. However, when they are being stroppy teenagers, even before they are teenagers, that teenage stage, it is hard, but I had some lovely conversations about reassuring them, even though you've dragged them out of bed, you've been cursing silently, and whatever you've had to do to get them out the house, you do give them that affirmation of, I do love you, see you later, have a good day, Jesus loves you, whatever that might be, just to make sure that, yeah, I might have been crabby this morning because you were slow, or whatever it might have been, but you are loved.
Great, and your first and last word, whether it's in the morning or at night, you want that to be a positive, whatever it is. And I agree. I'm parenting a 12 teen, and I have contacted Care for Family to say we need a new course for this 12 teen. Yeah, anybody who's in it. And I do try and say when I'm dragging him out of bed, I love you, because I think it's got to be positive too. And when he's still dragging his feet up the stairs at 8:30 and pushing every button that I have, I still go, love you, good night. Sometimes we have to act and pretend, even in our heads, we're like, I'm going to scream. So yeah, absolutely, so important, that positive word. Great, thank you for sharing. This table, what was your question?
I didn't say anything, so I've got to remember what everyone else said. What was the question? Number 4. Okay. How is your child navigating the pressure from society to be the best? In what ways is this particularly challenging for them or for children in general? So, we were reflecting on just the pressures on children and teenagers in society, especially even more now with social media, as well as academic pressures that start even from nursery age. Yeah.
Great, thank you. The next volunteer will be... What question are you working on?
Okay, so we had question number 4. How could you balance... Okay, so how could you balance the need to encourage your children to put their whole effort into what they do
to be the best at everything. So we talked about how we encourage the children to focus on what's going on at the time, and encourage despite things not always going right. We talked about being a good model ourselves, showing love and compassion, using appropriate language. So we talked about word failure and maybe using that as a stepping stone for getting to where you want to be. And we talked about just being honest ourselves if things haven't gone right for us and what we would do to encourage ourselves, being a good role model.
Brilliant, yeah. I think sometimes we talk about fail as being a bad thing, but if you spell it out, actually fail is the first attempt is learning. Very often, when we're in this world of struggling, actually if we're struggling with something, it means we're learning something new. So really great aspect. Thank you.
Nobody's even this talk, aren't they?
Oh, well, what was your question? We'll just open it to the room.
No, we did the first one. So when is it? When do you find it easy to use positive affirming language, and when is it hard? And it was quite simply when things are going well, it's easier to be positive and affirming. When things are harder, so like first thing in the morning, trying to get to school or church, and tea time.
Brilliant. Yeah, really good. Thank you.
But yeah, we did move on a bit and we talked about various things. And one thing that was said was the idea of modelling doing things not so well and being able to fail, and like having doing a craft that maybe you're not good at and still enjoying it, and really pushing that idea of modelling that it's okay to just be you.
Absolutely, brilliant, thank you. And then what was the last table? What question?
Question 2, which felt a little bit too much like psychoanalysis for us. It got a bit touchy-feely. But I think what we reflected on was the impact on our parenting of how our parents were to us. I think either purposefully rejecting that, trying to be different, or realising too late that you're just modelling it again. And that our teenagers are the best parents because they tell us how we should do it.
Absolutely. Well, they do know best. Did you not know that? Yeah, I think that's a true reflection of how do you parent? Do you base it absolutely poles opposite to how you were parented, or do you actually run it quite similar to how you were parented? Always a good debate that we have at some of the parenting courses that I run. So can we go to the next slide, please? So the next sort of part of this sort of discussion in this is thinking about another sort of list of questions. Maybe you pick your own number this time. Pick a number between 1 and 5 for your table. So have a think about how resilient do you think your child currently is. Again, if you're in different roles, whether it's a parent or you're working with families, adapted for that. What can we do to model resilience within the family home? Do you naturally internalise or externalise in challenging situations? How can we model how to express our emotions in a healthy way? And what little things could you change at home to help create an environment where we process challenges and develop resilience? So much of what we do is modelled and watched. So have that kind of discussion with the tables. I'll just give us 5 minutes to choose your question. Okay, I'll bring this back together. Thank you. So, we had 5 questions. Did anybody pick number 1? Do we have the table pick number 1? So, how resilient do you think your child currently is? It's a bit like if he's in a good mood, he's really resilient. Or if he's doing something he likes, he's resilient. If he's doing something that he doesn't like or he doesn't feel he's very good at, that's when I see the resilience definitely fall. I know when I talk with other parents, if it's not on a screen, it's amazing how the resilience disappears. Has anybody else got anything else that they could add to any personal experiences of resilience? model resilience within the family home? Those eyes that watch us all the time, those children that, can't hear anything when you're calling their name, but they hear you when you open a packet of crisps. It's amazing, like, how they can watch and learn. If you say a swear word when you're driving, they will hear that, but they won't hear when you're saying, please go and brush your teeth, please go and brush your teeth, please. No, it doesn't. Anybody have a discussion about how we can model that as adults in their lives? We have a volunteer.
I'm not going to tell the story, but I was talking about my daughter when she was younger, pointing out that I didn't get upset. I got cross when I said something upsetting, which made me realise actually showing my emotions, how important it was. It's not my natural, but even if I'm having to fake it to say I'm upset, so it's not just I'm cross or unhappy.
Yeah, very true. There's a lovely book called How Do You Feel It? Because very often we talk about these emotions, but it's trying really hard to explain what is happy, what really is sad. And that book goes through each page of just kind of an explanation of what is that emotion. And so true. We sound cross with our voice, but maybe we're more upset and frustrated than we are actually cross. So yeah, great example. Thank you. So did anybody do question 3 with the do you naturally internalise or externalise in challenging situations? I'll have to do a poll then. So if you're an externaliser or an internaliser, anybody brave? Bit both? Love it. Yeah, I always say to my husband, you're so blessed because what's in my head is comes out of my mouth, There's an upside to everything. Okay. Yeah, be there, had a t-shirt, now you might as well do it. Yeah, great. Yeah, thank you for sharing.
I would say the opposite to that, mainly because
I have always worn my heart on my sleeve from being a kid. I am an extrovert, out and out, and it's sometimes got me in trouble. And so the older I got though, I found, and often when my kids were younger, I used to always be apologising for being an extrovert. Like, I'm really sorry, I just kicked off for no reason, I'm really sorry, can you forgive me? And asking for forgiveness constantly. The older I've got, the more I've learned, the more things I've gone through, I actually started to be more private and more keeping that to myself. So I kind of learned the opposite, if you like, to go the other way. Maybe that's just a preference thing, like from an introvert to an extrovert, extrovert to introvert, I don't know. But yeah, I've definitely gone the opposite way.
Great. And what's so true is whatever's right for you, isn't it? It's your personality, your style, and that comes out in however you're addressing children. And then obviously they have their personality styles, and that comes out in how they're expressing themselves. So yeah, great. I'm good that we are different. Thank you, God, we are different. So question 4, how can we model how to express our emotions in a healthy way? Did anybody feel brave enough to discuss that one? Yeah, great. Thank you, friend.
Did everyone do question 5 then? So we're going to have a flood of hands in a minute. We talked, I mentioned the youth people I know who go around the group. We decided to do this one, so you can do it from a church perspective. They go around the group at the start of the session and they do sort of a news update from everybody, and everyone's allowed to say 1 bad thing from their week and up to 2 good things from their week. And they time it every week, and they try and do it, quicker each time. So it doesn't take loads of time, but then everybody hears what's going on in everybody else's life, and that opens up conversation later in the time so that you can share. And the leaders all do it as well, so they're honest about their feelings and experiences. So it's modelled and everybody is able to share.
Nice. Yeah. Maybe that's what we should have done today. Sandwiched it. Positive, negative, positive. Yeah, great.
So we discussed lots of different things. One which I thought was good to share was I noticed one time in our toddler group, I overheard a mum saying, "Oh, don't cry. There's no need to cry." And it's being able to let the children express those feelings. And Craig mentioned about, with the work he does, that letting the children know that actually what you've done might have hurt me, or that's made me a bit upset. And they might not be able to read the emotion because it might not be there, but you're letting them know this is the emotion that comes from what you've done or what you've said. And then linking that maybe to, if you do mental health first aid or anything like that, if someone's upset, you don't just say, "Oh, just smile and get on with it, come on, cheer yourself up." You know, allow them to have those emotions, because we all have them, but it's then showing them how this is how we can then cope with them.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So, did you have anything else? That was about it. Brilliant. So number 5, what little things? We always talk about, doing these tiny steps can you change at home to help create an environment where we possess challenges and develop resilience. Did anybody have a great discussion around number 5? Yeah? Trisha, would you go to that one, please? Thank you.
We spoke about listening to children, because too often it's about what we want from our children and our emotions and what we think they should be doing. But just to be able to listen to children from a young age, building up that relationship of constantly having regular conversations, really enables the relationships to develop as they get older, and hopefully as teenagers you are a go-to person for them in any situation they find themselves. But I've seen books about how to make your children listen to you and things like that. So it's really turning it on its head and actually saying, no, let's listen to the children. Very small children may not know why they're feeling angry or frustrated, or something may have happened and they don't understand what's happened. But by just sitting down and listening and trying to draw out and then having a conversation about how they can learn about their emotions. It's a long process, but it should be a sort of daily thing for parents and adults who are dealing with children, just to be able to see things from their point of view and help them understand what they're going through.
Yeah, brilliant, thank you. And almost like you were saying about your leader chat thing, it's almost bringing that to our child level, isn't it? Tell me one thing about your day. Very often parents say, what did you do today? And the challenge is kind of information overload, but did you put your hand up today? Did you smile at someone today? Did you hold someone's hand today? Did you feel sad today? Did you have a happy moment today? It's been that specific question to really make that conversation count. Yeah?
It could be really simple things like, we'll cook some cookies today, we'll do chocolate chip. Oh, we haven't got any chocolate chip, so what could we put in there? And it's getting them to think about small things, but then as they learn to think about, we used raisins instead of chocolate chips, or we used apricots, I haven't got a blue pencil, so what a purple one do? And it's sort of small things like that. They actually then start to learn to think for themselves, and that helps with their resilience.
Absolutely, thank you, great ideas. So thank you. I'm going to hand over to Trisha, but thank you for your participation, really appreciate it.
I think that also goes back to our main speaker this morning about changing our books into Anne's Brilliant. So, what we've been doing is looking at care for families, resource, a mind of their own, and that's what we've been experiencing. It's easy to use. The pack includes digital access to a video, all the videos. That was only a small part of the video for this material. Group leaders guide, session notes, and a school guide. So the material is accessible to all, but particularly aimed at parents of children between the ages of 7 and 14, and for all the significant adults. So it's not just the parent, it can be the carer, it can be teachers, it can be support workers in schools, teachers' assistants, and this gives them an ability to be able to look at this material in a safe way. The book. So the material is based on the book. The book is £12.99 and the material, this resource, is £10. However, as Care for the Family always says, and Rob tells us to say, if there's anybody out here that can't afford the book or the resource, if you write to Care for the Family, we will send it to you free of charge. Okay? We just like to try and cover our costs. So, we've got, let's see how many minutes we've got left. 5 minutes. So has anyone got any questions to Joy or I about the resource that you've been experiencing today? Any questions? Do you think you'll be able to use that in your setting? Hands up those who think they can use it in their settings. Okay, brilliant. So don't forget, if you want the resource to be able to use with your parent group, well then please do come and see us, or if you can't afford it, write to us. So there's no questions. Oh my goodness, can't believe it. All right, next slide please. Okay, so I've just put up there our webpage. So if you'd like more information about any of our resources, about anything, our single parent holidays that are subsidised, anything like that, please do go to our webpage. Come and see us in the marketplace. We're just over here. And I've also put my email address up there. And if you want to have more contact with Joy, well then just let us know and we'll give you her email address as well. Okay, Simon and Kathy, thank you very much for your participating. Thank you, Joy. Just amazing, actually. Yes, absolutely. And I'll see you around about.